Hi everyone, Addie here at the McCoy Elk Ranch. Do you know what the fastest growing membrane known to mankind in nature is? You guessed it, it's elk antler. I've been an elk rancher for 24 years, and so I've had the opportunity to watch these amazing antlers grow and fall. If you've ever had the opportunity to go elk hunting, you've probably come across something that looks like this. This is an antler in its hard stage. There's my boy in the background. Okay, it's not a very big antler, but it's just a visual for the hard calcified stage, and I'll explain that more in a minute. As you can see, it's elk antler, and yes, it really is the fastest growing membrane in nature. I'm going to tell you about how the elk antlers grow and what we use them for, and also what the elk use them for. Elk are truly majestic animals, and their purpose, the antlers have a very specific purpose. So let's move on and find out what those purposes are. As I've already stated, elk antler grows incredibly fast. But how exactly do they grow so fast? And yes, incredibly fast is actually 1 inch per day. Yes, 1 inch per day. It seems like they sprout up overnight. You could almost watch it grow. However, only the males, in this case the bulls, grow antlers. So yes, the females are cows. It requires a huge amount of energy for the antlers to grow so quickly. So the healthiest, strongest bulls grow the biggest antlers. The new antlers typically start growing in April and are fully grown by mid-August, which is just in time for the breeding season. As a new antler grows, it is covered with a fuzzy looking skin called velvet. This is what the velvet looks like. This is an antler in the velvet stage. I'll do a close-up. As you can see, it is fuzzy looking. Yes, it's called velvet. Popular Science reports that the velvet is specialized to help the antlers grow. The new antler is filled with blood vessels that help transport oxygen, blood, and essential nutrients to the area, which allows the antlers to grow quickly. While the antlers are covered in velvet, the elk don't want them to come into contact with anything that could injure or damage them. Injuries to the velvet can cause the antlers to grow abnormally. When the antlers are fully grown, they harden to bone or calcify, and the velvet is cut off from the elk's blood supply and dies away. The velvet sheds, and the elk try to remove it by rubbing their antlers against trees and other structures. By the time the antlers are in the rut, or otherwise called mating season, in the fall, the velvet is gone, and the antlers are a hard, bony material, as we saw earlier. So we now know how the antlers grow and the different stages they go through during this growth period. Let's find out what the elk use their antlers for. Elk generally use their antlers for sparring and fighting, and if you can hear the clashing together of antlers in the background, that's what the bulls are doing right now. They're sparring. Firstly, a large set of antlers is proof of the animal's health and is also attractive to potential mates. This is often shown off by sparring, which is the locking together of antlers in a bantering way to test their strength against each other. This generally takes place outside of the rut. Dr. Valerius Geist describes sparring as a sporting engagement, which is a mutually agreed upon encounter by two friendly males. As the elk enter the height of the rut in the fall, testosterone kicks in and fighting takes over. Bulls in the rut are fighting for the most basic evolutionary need, the right to mate with cows and pass on their genes. This can often end in the death of a bull elk and is physically exhausting for the animals, so they will shred trees and rip up grass with their antlers in a dominance display in order to avoid bodily harm. Even just one puncture wound from an antler can be fatal. I'm going to show you what they did to my car. One bull did with his antler. He was quite upset that we took the car and the pen to fix his water trough. He stuck his antler right through the car. So we've talked about what the bulls use their antlers for, and this takes us to what humans like to use their antlers for. We're going to discuss medicinal purposes and also furnishings. According to Chen, Yang and Associates from the Evid-based Complement Alternate Med Journal, elk velvet has been used in traditional medicine for centuries to promote general health. The elk antler is harvested while still in the velvet stage. Li Shizhen's cuisine, Chinese medical text in the 16th century, has also discussed the use of antler in the form of powders, pills, extract, tinctures, and ointments for medicinal purposes. Elk velvet has also been known to improve blood circulation and muscle strength in humans and pets such as dogs and cats. Hard antler or antler sheds have been crafted into useful items for thousands of years. These early items were things like tools and weapons, but today we prefer chandeliers and lamps. Some are more common uses such as towel rails, hooks, and even bookends. So we know that elk antlers have many uses. Even though it may take a few years for a bull elk to reach maturity and his full potential, his antlers will always be impressive with many uses to him and us. We've talked about what elk antlers are used for and how they grow. So as you can see, it really is an impressively fast-growing membrane. If you ever get a chance to visit a log cabin in the woods, look around and see if you see any majestic displays of antlers. Or if you're ever walking in the woods, look for signs of sheds or scraping on trees to get rid of that itchy velvet. The nature around us will always be impressive, but we need to respect these animals and remember that they are a wild animal. We're going to see if we can get a little bit closer here. Nice visual.